Okay, so we're moving along to module number 3. We're going to talk about what to look for in buying your first bow. You know what? There's 3 big things I'm going to cover in this module. The big 3, I call them, that people make not really so much errors over when they're purchasing their first bow, but actually they're very common. The very first thing is people buy a bow that's far too heavy for them to draw. You've got to remember, if you're just getting into this sport, you're going to need to develop your structure and your form that's centered around consistency, no matter what style you shoot. And there's lots of systems of shooting out there. Gap, string walking, instinctive, which is what I shoot, split vision, point on. There's all sorts of different ways of shooting. Those don't matter as much as you being consistent in whatever manner of which you decide to shoot, okay? And I strongly suggest you getting a bow you can manage well. That's the first thing. Someone coming from a compound into a traditional bow, you're gonna have to go down in weight significantly, right? And I highly recommend people dropping down to around 40 pounds or 45 maximum and actually shooting into that bow. What do I mean by that? If you're shooting a dozen arrows a day, you're going good. That's my second point. You don't overshoot when you first get into this. Go out into the yard, shoot a dozen arrows, and Bob's your uncle, no problem, all right? Don't overshoot. Get your muscles and your tendons used to shooting. When you're shooting a compound and that is breaking over and letting the weight off in the valley, so to speak, you're not gonna get that. You've got to remember that. The brain needs to really make that switch, because with the recurve longbow, it's getting harder and harder and harder and harder to pull back as you go back, right? We actually have specificity drills directed exactly at these things to get your brain switched over much faster and take decades of that compound and make it into days with the traditional bow into shooting effectively for bow hunting situations in other courses. So first step, get a lightweight bow you can manage. If you're just getting into archery, you do not need to break the bank. Hit up Amazon. Okay, get one of their lower level bows to start off on that's not going to break the bank. Get a set of arrows matched to the bow and have fun shooting, right? Make sure you're not getting tired. Like I said, the second step is 12 arrows a day. That's it. You don't need any more than that, okay? That's it. The third step is where we come into the shooting process, okay? All you need to do is grab one of these guys I'm sitting on here, grab a nice block target, go to your farmer's market or your local farmer, grab a couple of bales of hay, and you've got an instant target system that's not going to break the bank, okay? Bales of hay is a super cheap way to get started. It's safe, they'll stop arrows. What I like to do is, and you'll see in some of the basic shooting stuff we're going to do here in a couple more modules, I wrap mine in a nice black industrial garbage bag, and it not only do they retain the shape, but it keeps that bale together a little bit while you're shooting as well, and you've got a great solid target face to shoot at as well, okay? Super easy way to get started, and it doesn't break the bank, right? So to reiterate, first step, get a lightweight bow you can shoot, whether it's a recurve or a longbow. If you want, you can even get a takedown that allows you to go up in limb weight as you get used to those lighter limbs and go up in limb weight. Remember, I started shooting when I was probably 2.5 years of age. I started shooting a little 10-pound green glass longbow. I didn't need to spend a lot of money. My second recurve I got was around 25 to 30 pounds, but at my draw length, I was only probably getting about 15 pounds out of that, right? Let's talk about draw length for a minute. Most bows are set at what's called 28 AMO, the Archers Manufacturers Organization specifications for the maximum weight when it gets drawn to 28 inches when you hit your draw length. When you're shooting a compound bow, most folks are going to drop anywhere from 1 to 2 full inches in draw length because you're gripping with your fingers, right? You're not using a release. And because the peak weight hits and how it's set up, it's going to shorten that draw length as well. It's really important to remember that. So when you're drawing, when you first start drawing a bow, I find the average person is not even drawing 28. A lot of folks are drawing anywhere between 26 and 28 inches, right? So make sure you get a bow that's manageable, of a hunting weight if you're going to hunt with it, that you can actually utilize and make functional for you. But you don't need to start off heavy. If you've never shot a bow before, 30, 35 pounds for an adult, 15 to 25 pounds for a youth or a teenager, right? Depending on their size and their stature. The most important takeaway from this is do not overbow yourself, right? Shoot comfortably. A 40-pound recurver longbow with a good hunting weight arrow on it is going to be absolutely fine for most North American big game, especially white-tailed deer and wild turkeys. You'll be good to go. Stay with me, walk with me to the next module.